Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. And now the Friday Crime Report. Lauringer, Louisiana, Tuesday, June 11th, 2024, 8 o'clock a.m. It seems that whenever we talk about Louisiana, it's always the worst of the worst. Normally it's the thugs in blue, but the depravity down there is hardly limited to the police. Callie Brunette was a single mother of two young girls, 6-year-old Jaylee Brunette and her baby sister, 4-year-old Erin. On the morning of June 11, 2024, she had sent the usual text messages to her parents as she normally did. She stayed in near constant contact with them every day. But this morning would be the last time that anyone would ever hear from her. The next day, Callie's father came by her trailer because he hadn't heard from his daughter the previous evening, which was highly unusual for her. When he got to her mobile home, he didn't see her car, a black 2012 Chrysler 200 there, so he initially didn't think anything was wrong, nor did he think to look inside the home at that time. But eventually, being unable to reach his daughter at all, the father forced his way into the mobile home, and when he did, he made a horrifying discovery. Callie's butchered body was lying on the bedroom floor. She had been stabbed more than 50 times. And just as terrible, the two young children were nowhere to be found. Authorities performed a search of the surrounding area, but found nothing. By noon, the Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office was appealing to the public for help in finding the girls. An Amber Alert was issued. The Louisiana State Police posted on Facebook that they were looking for an unknown white male who was wanted, quote, for questioning for a domestic violence incident which occurred at the time of the abduction and resulted in a homicide. They also posted that this white male was driving the car that belonged to Callie. Now, because the missing girls were not black, the case immediately was escalated with the U.S. Marshals and the FBI joining the search. The FBI set up a tip line. They received information from the public that led to locations in Macomb, Mississippi, and then Jackson, Mississippi, which is 2 hours from Lauringer, Louisiana. By Thursday afternoon, an undercover Jackson police officer noticed a suspicious man checking door handles of the homes there. When the officer approached the man, he fled. Police and marshals found him in a wooded area behind a house, and after a short pursuit, they took him into custody. The man was identified as 37-year-old Daniel Callahan. He was described as an on-again, off-again boyfriend of Callie Brunette, but he was not the father of either of the missing girls. Once in custody, Callahan led police to where Callie Brunette's car was. Close to that property, police found the 6-year-old Jaylee in a dirt pit, alive. But right beside her in the same dirt pit was the dead body of her 4-year-old sister, Erin. The child was determined to have died from asphyxiation. Also, the Jackson police chief said there was evidence of possible human trafficking at the location, including small animal cages. The human trafficking divisions of the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation and Hinds County were called in to assess the scene. Police also arrested a second person who they said was involved with this crime, 34-year-old Victoria Cox. Eventually, Callahan told the authorities what he had done, and it was horrifying. He admitted to murdering Callie Brunette in her home on the night of June 11th. He then admitted to abducting the two girls and taking them to Mississippi in their dead mother's car. The next day, he drove back to Louisiana to pick up Victoria Cox, and the two of them returned to Macomb, Mississippi to the two captive girls. The children were being held in a hotel where they were sexually abused by Callahan and by Victoria Cox. Prosecutors say Callahan then smothered the 4-year-old Erin to death by holding her against his chest so she couldn't breathe. According to court records, she died crying for her mother. Jaylee was given medical treatment and released to the custody of her family members. Callahan admitted that he and Cox decided to keep the 6-year-old as a sex slave. Then they put the child into a dirt pit and threw her baby sister's dead body in right along with her. And had they not been found, that pit would have unquestionably been both of their graves. Even animals don't act like this. And of course, you won't be surprised to learn that this is far from Callahan's first run-in with the law.
Learning more about Daniel Callahan's criminal history, Chris Welty continues our coverage.
Lee, according to records filed with the Tangipahoa Parish Clerk of Court's office, Daniel Callahan has faced multiple charges dating back to 2006. In 2006, Callahan was arrested for a simple burglary. He pled guilty and was sentenced to probation, but that sentence was eventually revoked. In 2014, he was ordered to serve 5 years and ordered to receive drug rehab treatment. In 2008, Callahan was charged with simple assault of a family member. Later that year, he was charged with theft, and he and another family member were charged with aggravated battery. The pair in that case were accused of attacking someone with a mason jar. In 2009, Callahan was arrested again for theft, simple burglary, and unauthorized entry of an automobile. In 2010, Callahan was arrested for simple burglary yet again, but the Tangier Parish Clerk of Court says that charge was dismissed. Tangier Parish Sheriff Daniel Edwards says Callahan was well known by deputies.
Primarily for burglaries, some aggravated burglaries, some drug charges, some, I think, probation parole violations. I mean, he was certainly known to us. He was a suspect in some burglaries recently. This is obviously before the homicides that he committed, and we've even questioned him about those as well. So he was someone that was on our radar that we had dealt with before.
As people on both sides of the Mississippi-Louisiana state line began to ask questions, Daniel Callahan's sisters said that they had tried to warn the authorities about him, but nobody would listen.
I was lost for words because I really tried to help him.
Dixie Hemphill says Daniel Callahan is her half-brother.
Whenever I had got on Facebook, it was the first thing I had seen was that Callie had been murdered and her kids were missing.
After seeing that post, Hemphill recalled a message she received from her brother.
I had received messages off of Callie's Facebook the day prior, that night prior in the middle of the night, saying that it was an emergency, and he called me like 13 times off her messenger. He was asking for money, but he wanted me to call, not text.
She decided to call police in Louisiana to report her brother's possible involvement.
I picked up the phone and I called Tangier. And I said, I need to speak to the sheriff, nobody else but the sheriff. And she said, what for, ma'am? And I said, because I think I know what happened to Callie and I think I know where her kids are.
Hemphill says she's not surprised by Callahan's actions because her family tried to warn authorities.
I just think that this all could have been prevented if they would have listened to us 2 years ago. Here in Lincoln County, I want that to be known.
And of course, on cue, Daniel Callahan was immediately trying to trial balloon an insanity defense. He didn't even wait for the white media to do it. He was screaming that he has multiple personalities.
Mr. Callahan, do you have anything to say? Did you kill Eric Burnett?
Unfortunately, on Lexapro, sober, no drugs in my system, I did.
Why? Why did you kill the 3-year-old girl?
I have no reason for what I did. All I know is I want to say I was sober and only on Lexapro and off Lexapro, and I'm also diagnosed borderline with a multiple personality disorder, and I have not got to talk to a lawyer, and I'm on suicide watch, but I'm not suicidal. But
did you kill her mom? Did you kill her mom?
The Lexapro.
Did you kill her mom?
His mom.
Eric's mom.
I'm at Rankin County Jail. Y'all like an interview.
Do you regret what you did?
Completely.
You regret what you did?
I would kill me, and I have told them everything that I did, and I have agreed to not fight it. Speedy trial, and the death chamber, or whatever it is.
Did you hope for the death penalty?
For what I did, lethal injection is the easiest thing for me.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
No, I'm not pretending to be crazy. Look me up in Region 8. Borderline multiple personality disorder. You better look it up.
So you have
pretend to be crazy. I'm certified. I was only out of the nut house 2 weeks now.
Federal prosecutors promised Callahan that they would not seek the death penalty if he agreed to a plea deal. So in August, Daniel Callahan pleaded guilty to federal charges of kidnapping resulting in death and transporting a minor in interstate commerce. Then on Monday, September 29th in Mississippi's Hind County, he pleaded guilty to 1 count of capital murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and 2 counts of sexual battery. He was sentenced to life on the capital murder and sexual battery charges and 30 years on each kidnapping charge. Callahan's sentences in Mississippi will run consecutively to the federal sentence he received in Louisiana. Victoria Cox has been indicted in Mississippi on 1 count of capital murder, 1 count of kidnapping, and 1 count of sexual battery. She pleaded not guilty to all charges and is scheduled to go on trial December 8th. Because she committed all of her crimes in Mississippi, there's no federal charges. This case is about pure evil, but it's also about how the system keeps allowing certain people to commit crimes over and over and over again. And it seems that no matter how many times they get caught, no matter how severe the sentence should be, they just keep being given more chances. Unless they kill a mother and her child and kidnap and rape a surviving family member. The truth is, this savage barbarity could have been prevented. Just a month before the murders, Callahan had been accused of arson and theft of a firearm. That was just a few weeks before this tragedy was allowed to happen, but nothing was done. And then on June 10th, the day before the murders, Callahan was accused of criminal damage to property and unauthorized entry.
Ring video shared with WWL Louisiana shows what looks like 36-year-old Daniel Callahan walking around a property located on the Tangipahoe River, east of Amite. Dated June 10th, days before Kelly Brunette was found dead with multiple stab wounds inside a Laranja home, and a manhunt for her two daughters started. This video was snapped at 8:45 a.m. The owner says the man is coming out of the mudroom door wearing his waders and holding a torch. In the next video, time-stamped 4:17 p.m, the owner says you see him go in the house. Just under 2 hours later, at 6:02 p.m, the owner says the man is now naked, wearing his apron and a crossbow. The man who looks like Callahan is now walking up the staircase. Less than 10 minutes later, he comes down the stairs, and you can hear him making strange noises while climbing down. Not long later, at 6:18 p.m, the owner's video shows the man wrapping himself in one of the property owner's blankets. This picture appears to be of Daniel Callahan. The owner says the man is walking down his driveway, and you can see him holding a stylized carved weapon of some sort.
When the Tangipahoe Parish Sheriff was asked why Callahan wasn't arrested, he simply said that a report was taken, but they didn't make a connection until after the murders had happened, and that they wished they could have done more. Yeah, I mean, after all, what do you think his job is? Law enforcement or something? He talked about this like it was a car that had a faulty repair done on it. He responded like this was a customer service complaint from Walmart. And that's why tragedies like this just keep happening. This is not the system failing. This is the system working exactly the way it was intended. These cops and prosecutors and judges keep giving these animals plea deals and these slap-on-the-wrist sentences. They know exactly what they're doing. They're maintaining the system of goodies, giveaways, and guarantees that they rely on in this racially stratified society, because that system is the glue that holds this whole sick enterprise together. But what the rank-and-file members of the dominant society fail to understand is that when people are given racial immunity from the law, that's a direct threat to them too, because upwards of 85% of white murder victims are murdered by another white person. Charlie Kirk disputed that fact right up until he became a statistic of it. And by continuing to allow the law to be ignored based on race, they embolden the next Daniel Callahan. Criminality escalates. Let someone get away with assault, and they'll move on to arson. Then after that, murder and raping children. Unfortunately, that's a cost that this society decided a long time ago that it was more than willing to pay. Charlie Kirk himself infamously said that a bunch of gun deaths every year was simply an acceptable price the society had to pay in order to have the right to bear arms. Of course, when he said that, he never imagined that he would become one of those deaths. But the perverse reality is that when it comes to white privilege, which is the tangible and psychological benefits that white supremacy gives to those classified as white, they also use the same brutal calculus. When it comes to losing the lives of people from the dominant society, it's part of the cost of doing business. Sure, they don't like the mass shootings and degenerates like Daniel Callahan going on killing and rape sprees, and it would be nice if trash like him was arrested and punished the first time when they commit lower-level offenses. But the problem for them, though, is that the members of the dominant society are only too aware that they, too, are desperately dependent on that exact same system of racial immunity from law that the Daniel Callahans rely on. Sure, they may not need it for things like arson or assault, but they need it and use it countless times throughout their lives for everything else. Black people live in a police state, but members of the dominant society live in a so-called free country. When they break the law, unless it's murder, they can count on getting a slap on the wrist. But as I've documented countless times on this channel's Crime Report, even murder doesn't get punished all the time. It's a two-tiered justice system, and they know which tier they're on and they rely on it. The same chain that links Daniel Callahan to his racial immunity from law is also the exact same chain that links the rest of the dominant society to theirs. They know the only way to stop the Daniel Callahans would be for them to give up the very same racial privilege that they enjoy. And they're not going to do that. The deaths of a single mother and her toddler daughter, as well as the violation of a preteen child, that's apparently an acceptable risk the society's decided to pay for the benefits of white supremacy. Because just like Charlie Kirk, nobody from the dominant society ever thinks that it will be them, until it is. And that's this week's Friday Crime Report. Keep your eyes open and stay on alert, because there's a lot worse criminals out there than the ones the white corporate media chooses to show you. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Ginger Vine, Deep Eye 904, Williams, Leonard Cottingham, and Kwanzaa JV. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.